Welcome to another Tech Help Quick Queries video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I'm your instructor, Richard Rost. Today is Quick Queries episode number 22, where I answer your questions that you send to me in email or post in the forums or on my YouTube channel. And they're good questions, but maybe they don't need a whole video of themselves, so we throw them together in this bundle of joy called Quick Queries. First up, a little program note. I apologize for the distorted stuff in the last episode. I've been trying some new video software, and some of the stuff came out looking like this when it should have been looking like this. Because usually I take screenshots and I put them on slides like this in PowerPoint. But last time I tried just putting the screenshot in, and it got stretched, and it was weird, and I'm sorry. So I won't do that again. First up, a question from the forums. One of my students wrong. He said he's got an Access desktop application that ran very well before in Boca Raton, Florida. But since the backend file has been relocated to Orlando and the front end is in Boca Raton still, he said it's running very slow. So I'm assuming you're running it over a VPN connecting over the internet. If that's the case, yes, it's going to run slow. There's just no way around it. Unless you've got a super, super fast VPN connection, it's not going to work great. You've got to remember how Access works. Access is a file-based database system. It's not really designed to work well over large distances like that. If you run a query, let's say you're looking for just the customers from Florida, and you've got 100,000 customers in your customer table, well, Access will have to pull down all 100,000 records and then go through all those records and just find the ones from Florida, as opposed to a database server like SQL Server, or any other database server. You send the request up, and it will then go through all those 100,000 customers on the remote machine, find those 10 customers from Florida, and just send you those. So that works much, much better. That's a true client-server setup. You can still use Access as your front end, and I strongly recommend it. Access is a great front end. But the database server on the back end handles all the work like that, and it doesn't have to send so much traffic over the line. If you want to learn more about this, I've got a whole page here on Access Online. This will tell you about all the different ways you can run with, you can use SharePoint, you can use SQL Server, you can use Remote Desktop, Access Database Cloud. There's lots of different options. There's a link to that page. I'll put a link down below you can click on, and I hope that helps to answer your question. Access by itself over a VPN, I don't recommend it. And Access over a file sharing service like Dropbox or Google Drive, no, do not do that. No, do not put it in a file sharing drive. Rosa is asking about putting a logo on a printable invoice report, but the image shows terrible. Yeah, that can sometimes happen. I've got a whole separate video that talks about that. Go watch this video. I'll put a link down below. Yeah, sometimes when you put a high quality image in a report, it looks like all grainy and washed out. There's a fix to get it to look nice and pretty, and this video will talk about that. Donner says he's pulling his hair out trying to figure out a formula for determining a contract expiration date. He's got a start date and he wants to add a certain number of days. Now, there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can use the DateAdd function, and I've got a video for that. Here you go. DateAdd is good if you want to add whole years, months, quarters, right? Or if it's just days, if it's simple days like 30 days, 7 days, you can just use date math. Remember, in Access, a date value is a number, right? And 1 day equals 1. So if you want to add 3 days, just take your date value and add 3. If you want to add 6 hours, that's a quarter of a day, right? 6, 12, 18, 24. So you could add 0.25. All right, so that's basic date math. Go watch both of these videos, and that should answer your question. All right, Keith said that he changed his computer's system, his Windows system date format to the ISO date format like I show in this video. I'll give you the link in a minute. But his Access database is still not showing this format. Why is that? Well, even if you set your Windows system default format to the ISO date, which is year, month, day, which I strongly recommend. All right, here's the video. Again, I'll put a link to this down below. It's basically year, month, day, which is a universal format that my goal is to get everybody in the world using this. So dates are not ambiguous anymore, okay? And you can set your Windows system setting so that that's the default for all of the applications on your computer, for Word, for Excel, for Access, anything that uses dates, right? But If you still have custom formats inside of Access, they will override the default. Let me show you. All right, so here in this database, my computer is set to ISO dates, of course, right? So there is a date field. But if I have a format in here, a custom format for this field, either in the form or in the query or in a table underneath it, right? If I go into format here, now I would suggest stick to short date. That'll give you the default system short date. But if you put something custom in here, like MMDD YYYY, like that, that will overwrite whatever the default system is. If I come back in here now, there you go. This is a pain. And I didn't really notice that it was a pain when I just taught locally here in the United States. But as soon as I started doing classes around the world on YouTube and stuff, and people from Europe, they have a different format, and it's a pain. So that's why I strongly suggest, if you're going to put custom formats and stuff, just stick to short date, long date, those kinds of things. And just be aware that any formats in Access will override the system formats. Okay? Okay. Techie Yandon says, when I add an image with a transparent background, like a GIF or a PNG or something, it displays correctly in report view, but print view and actual print, when you print it out, it's not transparent. Do you have a fix for this? No, unfortunately, I do not, but I can confirm that you're not crazy. Transparent GIFs do work in forms, but they don't work in reports. Why? I don't know. It's just a limitation of Access. Maybe this is something the Access team can address in a future version. Hint, hint. Sammy, add it to the list. But yeah, I tried it myself recently, and no, transparent GIFs just don't display right in reports. Sorry. Not my fault. I don't build Access, I just teach it. Zvig wants to know if he can install Access on Windows S mode. Well, the first thing I always tell people is, if you want to know, can Access do this or could you do that? Go ahead and try it. Try it and see. But no, Windows S mode is like it's kind of like safe mode. I don't want to call it safe mode because it's not safe mode, but it's basically, it's like their version where you can only run apps out of the App Store. It's like if you had an Android, you can only run apps from the Google Play Store unless you sideload. But no, Microsoft Access is not supported in S mode.
Shop smart, shop S smart.
So yeah, that's S mode. Tertiary Spotlight Media. I get this question all the time. As you can see, we had one earlier too. I split my database and I learned I can share it on SharePoint or a local area network before multiple users can have access to it at the same time smoothly. If you're on a local area network, you're in one physical location and you've got wires run to your computers, right? Connected to a hub or a switch, a local area LAN. Yeah, that's what Access is designed for. Okay. Can you run it over a wireless network? You can, but I don't recommend it. I have, but unless your wireless connection is like spot on perfect, you could run into problems, because if that disconnects at all in the middle of a file read write, you're looking at a corrupted database. So I don't recommend using it over a wireless network. As far as SharePoint goes, yeah, sure. You can use SharePoint. You can use SQL Server. You can use all kinds of different things. Check that video that I mentioned earlier. You guys would be surprised how many times I get similar questions to this. That's why I put those other videos together. Fiona is asking about locking a field. Now, in this specific video, I teach you how to lock a field without, I'm not really talking about Microsoft Access's built-in record locking. All right, that's something different. That is set at the database level. All right, if you go into File and then Options, and then go into Client Settings, and then come down to, where is it at? Advanced here. All right, Default Record Locking. Now, by default, it's set to no locks, which is if you're using Access by yourself in a single user environment, no locks is fine. Your database will run faster. You can switch it to all records or edited record. All records means that if you're editing a record in that table, all of the records in that table are locked. Edited record means just that record is locked. Sometimes a record around it might be locked. It's based on page size and all kinds of other stuff. But basically, usually just the record that you're working on gets locked. Now, this is set in the database that you're working on. Okay? This video here that Fiona is talking about This is something completely different. This video teaches you how you can lock something like a credit limit field once the user puts some data in there. Or you could lock an order once it's marked paid. That's completely different from access record locking. Record locking and access is to prevent two people from editing the same record at the same time. This is locking a field like you don't want them to be able to change this anymore. All right. Once you enter in, let's say, a birth date, all right, only a manager can update it. That's what this talks about. This is set in the front end. So yes, you would have to put the VBA code that I teach you in this video in every form where this field could possibly be edited. All right. Otherwise, I could just go to a different form and change it there. So that's something you have to control. Oh, wait, someone's beaming in. Hold on. Let's see who it is. Hold on. What we got? That's another tribble. Damn it. Dorkfish. I'm guessing that's Dorkfish. Dork F1SH. I've showed how to get the next to last date record, the second highest value. Is there a way to modify the max function instead of dmax to get the next to last date as well? I don't think so. Dmax allows you to specify criteria. You can say, give me the largest credit limit in the customer table, right? And then with criteria, you could say, if you want the second highest one, you could say, give me the largest credit limit in the table less than the one I just looked up, right? So it'll find the largest one less than the previous one. And you can keep doing that. You can get the first, second, third, whatever. Max is a form footer function that goes in the form footer. And I don't think you can use that to find the second. You'd have to use dmax. I mean, you could just put dmax in the footer as well. You wouldn't have to use just max. But I don't think it's possible, no. Sorry. Here's something I get asked all the time, too. User, whatever that is, want to build a bill of materials, track purchase orders, receipts, inventory, all this stuff. Can you build one for me? I no longer do custom software development. I did for years and years and years. That's how I got all the knowledge that I have now, is pulling my hair out writing software for other people. So I don't do that anymore. But I do cover most of these topics in my full developer series. I'm up to developer 46, and we cover most of that. Purchase orders, inventory, receipts, invoicing, all that stuff. Or if you want someone else to build it for you, I do have a page called the Access Developer Network. Just go to my website, drop this little box down here and pick Access Developer Network. I'll put a link to it down below. And on this page, you can find people that can help you with your project. Here's some of my Access veterans. These are students of mine, advanced developers who do consulting work. I've got some diamond sponsors here. They're great at what they do. All right, and there's other Access consultants here. These are all people that, are available and willing to help you with your project. So check this out. I'll put a link to it down below. All right, I get comments like this every now and then, and I just wanted to address it. This person is upset because I copied a combo box from another form instead of building it from scratch. Isn't this supposed to be a tutorial? Well, a lot of my tutorials and my courses and my videos, at the beginning of them, I always say, here are some prerequisites. Here are some other videos that you should have watched first before watching this video. And that's because I can't take the time to go over everything in every video. Otherwise, most of my videos would be 3 hours long. So if I say, hey, this video is going to require you to understand how to make combo boxes, here's a video you should watch first, go watch that video first, then come back. And I think in most of my tech help videos, I say this. Almost everything has prerequisites except for the very beginner classes. So yes, they're tutorials, but they have different skill levels. For example, this one that I just released yesterday, it's a developer level video, which means you need to know some VBA. And if you don't know VBA, I tell you to go watch this video first. This one's about 20 minutes long. And I'm not going to cover all of this stuff in every other video that requires VBA. So it makes sense? You capiche? Are you picking up what I'm putting down, Kelly? Right? Yeah, it's a tutorial, but I cover combo boxes and that stuff in the previous video that you should have watched before complaining about this one. Okay? Okay.
Shop smart. Shop S-smart. You got that?
Luca wants to know if it's possible to only take a date value, a date time value, and only have the year left. In this video, the remove time video, I teach you how to take a date time that's got a time on it and chop the time off, so you're only left with the date part. So can you whittle that down to just a year? Yeah, sure. Use the year function. There's a video for you. You can get the year, the month, the day, any part of a date time value you want, the second, the minute, the hour. Okay? Just remember, if you pull the year out with the year function, you're no longer working with a date value. Now you have a number. All right, so make sure it's a number of type long integer, and it'll give you the year. Brian, one of my members, has 2 questions. He wants to know if you can add a search function that utilizes a combo box. He's asking this from my search form 2.0, which utilizes just text fields to filter the records in a continuous form. Is that possible? Yes, of course it's possible. I'll talk about it in a second. And the other question is, can you have more than one field with an auto number? I'll answer your second question first. No, you may only have one auto number in a table. That's just a limitation of access. You can't do it. I can't think of a situation where you need to have more than one, right? The auto number should be used for the primary key field for making relationships. That's it. If you need some kind of another counter or a different type of variable, make your own. I've got several other videos on the topic. For example, this one, if you want sequential numbering for your orders, for example. So each customer has sequential order numbers. Okay? You don't need auto numbers for that. Now, as far as your first question goes, you could just make combo boxes to replace the text boxes in that search form filter. It'll work the same way. Just make value list combo boxes, or even relational combo boxes that have text in them. And then the after update event will still fire and just check the value. You might have to use column 1, but it'll still work. If you need more help than this, let me know. Post something in the forums on my website, and I'll be happy to give you some more information. You can also use the wizard to make a find record combo box. This isn't as good, but if your needs are simple, this might work for you too. So check this one out. I'll put links to this down below. Paladin 101 brings up the concept of breadth first versus depth first thinking. And this is the method that I've always used for my lessons, is breadth first. Depth first is where you would drill down on every topic, right? Like microsoftaccess, for example. Most books are written depth first, right? Chapter 1, tables. We're going to teach you everything there is to know about tables, all the properties, all of the field lengths, everything about tables, whether you need it or not right now, okay? Chapter 2 is going to be all about queries. Everything to know about queries, action queries, append queries, make table queries, crosstab queries, all that stuff, all right? And so on, forms, reports. That's depth first. Each topic, we're going to drill all the way down. I think that's a horrible way to learn. I think that's a great way to write a reference book or an advanced book with people who already know a topic. But if you're learning something new for the first time, like microsoftaccess, for example, and you've never built a database before, I think a breadth-first approach is better. That's what I do. I teach you a little bit about tables, what tables are, how to build a simple table, the different types of data you could store. All right, we got a basic customer table built. Now let's go make a query, right? Just very simple select query. Let's see, show me all the customers from Florida. All right, okay, that's good. We got that. So yeah, I got a little bit of queries down. Now let's go make a form, really basic form. And then we come back. Once we've covered the beginner stuff, then we come back to tables and the expert levels. All right, now we're going to get a little deeper into tables now. We're going to talk about the different, input masks and stuff like that. So that's what a breadth first is. I think that's a much better way to learn from the beginning. I'm not hitting you with too much stuff that's going to blow your brain up front. And that's how I've always developed my courses. In fact, one of the biggest complaints I used to get, I actually wrote an article about this. One of the biggest complaints I got was people would always complain that I'd say, well, we're going to cover that in a future lesson. Because as I'm doing the beginner stuff on queries, questions would come up in students' minds. Like, well, what about this? What about that? And I would always have to say, we're going to cover that in a future lesson. Don't worry, we're going to get to it. It's too much for right now, right? I'm not going to teach you crosstab queries when I just taught you about criteria, right? Or I'm not going to teach you VBA stuff because this is still a beginner lesson. And years ago, when I first started doing this, people would get frustrated because I'd be like, well, we'll cover that eventually, but I didn't have that eventually lesson ready. Now I've got it. Now I've been doing this for 20 some years. I can tell you, okay, that's covered in Access Expert 14. Just go to my website, hit the search box, and it'll tell you where it's at. Where's inventory covered? Okay, right? So I wrote a whole lesson or a whole article on this because, you can't do everything at once. Like the person before was saying, I can't teach everything in every lesson. Some stuff's going to come later. Some stuff I covered before, right? You got to just go with the flow. That's why I suggest if you really want to learn Access, take my full course. Start with the beginner lessons and work your way up because those are designed, step A, step B, step C, step C. The tech help videos and the quick queries and stuff, these are just like one-off little helper topics, right? How to do something specific. But my course is a lot more comprehensive. So thank you, Paladin. I salute you as well, sir. Good day.
I say good day. Now good day.
Good day.
Good day.
I said good day.
Another one of my members, Lauren, says, you're a great teacher. Thank you very much. One question, is there a way to adjust the tables screen to scroll as I tab to the next box? It's so frustrating when I tab over that I can't see the box that I just tabbed to. By the tables screen, do you mean a table in datasheet view? Are you just working in a table? Because as you tab, it should scroll over to the columns to the right, if this is what you're talking about. I'm not sure what you mean by the tables screen. So maybe give me some more details. And better yet, since you're a member, post this in the forum on my website, because I check that a lot more often than I check my YouTube comments. All right, Gray Pasm is talking about my video where I said not to save your totals in the table if you can recalculate it on the fly, which is a general rule of thumb, but it's not hard, fast, set in stone. He says, although I agree that queries are a good method for getting a line total, I find that storing the totals in the table really optimizes the database by leaps. What I usually do is have an edit form. So when an invoice or an order needs to be adjusted, the user can use that. Add some VBA, after some events, and presto, totals are recalculated. And yes, that is absolutely 100% true. And I think I even mentioned in that video, if that's the case, if you want to do that, if you've got, for example, millions of orders and you want to optimize the speed of your reporting, then great. Go right ahead and do that. Just remember that you have to have those calculations updated every possible place that stuff can be recalculated. All right. Yeah, it's great for audit trails, stuff like that too. Sure, I agree. If you want to track, what records were changed and when by whom, absolutely. I agree 100%. Then you definitely need an audit trail or some way of tracking changes and saving that data in a table. By all means, everything that I teach is based on what's best in most scenarios. There are always going to be exceptions. All right, even in my own personal database, I've got some fields that are calculated in the tables because of optimization rules that I need for that particular instance, right? I try to teach things that are, what the vast majority of people are going to find useful. But everything that I teach there's always going to be exceptions. That's just how computers are. But thank you for the feedback. Hulkout Mohammed asks, how do you track changes and store them in a customer changelog table like I teach in this video? I'll give you a link to this in a minute. And then only store those changes for a month and then delete them automatically. Well, what I would do is just simply have a delete query so that when you open the database, the first thing it does in the background is run that delete query and just clear out your archive. I do the same thing. I download all the log files from my website nightly, and then after, I think I got it set to every quarter, every 3 months, it deletes the old ones. Because if it goes 3 months, I don't usually need to go back and find something. Same thing with my email batches, right? Whenever I send emails out from my database, the send logs, I purge those, I think, once a month. So yeah, just have an event that runs in the on-open event for your main menu, and then just run a delete query and set it so that it deletes everything older than a month. And every day when you open your database, it'll clean it up, take after itself, right? Here's the track changes video that he's talking about. And here's a video on how to make a delete query. So check those out. Here's a question I get a lot. Tut wants to know, why don't I put spaces between two words like first name? I see you're watching my how to create a database in Microsoft Access. This is my quickie. This is my how to do it in about a half an hour. And I put this together because a lot of people told me they didn't want to watch my 4-hour Access Beginner 1 class. Now in the big 4-hour class, in this guy. It's about a little over 4 hours long. It teaches you all the basics. And I go over a more in-depth explanation as to why I don't use spaces in my field names or my table names. Basically, it boils down to once you get into a little more advanced stuff, making queries with parameters and VBA programming or macros, all that, when you got fields that got spaces in them, you got to remember to put brackets around everything. It just becomes a pain. And you don't have a lot of the problems that will come up if you don't put spaces in your field names. So one of the things I discovered after 10 years or so of building Access databases is, hey, it's a lot easier if I don't have spaces in all my object names. So if you have time, go watch this. It's free. It's on my website. It's on my YouTube channel, and it will explain all those little questions like that I go over in that class. Okay. Cavill Green asks, if I wanted to format my sales data in my query as month year, could I use this calculated field instead? Month year is format sales date, comma, MMYYYY. Yes, you can if that's the format that you want, but just keep in mind, once you format it like that, you're now dealing with a text field. Anytime you use format on a date, it changes it to a text field. And I know I've done this before myself in years past. Just be aware of that. Right? I used to format stuff as YYYY-MM. And it works. And it's good for, you can sort and stuff like that. But just keep in mind, it's now text and you can't do things like, add a month to it, that kind of stuff. Here's a video that talks more about the format function. I've got a couple of videos coming out too very soon that deals with some additional date formatting. So look for that soon. And I cover formatting in tons of my different classes too. So I got lots of stuff on formatting. All right, next up, Michelle asks, it would be super if when going to the record that has the other phone number, that it goes to the record without filtering. All right, she's talking about my warn but allow video where I say, okay, let's say you're like a drugstore or, when a customer comes in, you look them up by their phone number, right? I used to find that annoying, but now I get it. It's just an easy way to keep track of customers because nowadays everybody's got, their own cell phone number. So you type it in. If it's there, it takes you to the record. If it's not there, it prompts you to add it, right? Okay. And she's saying it'd be helpful if it went there without filtering because the way that I open it in this particular video is I use a where condition and do command open form. And basically that will filter the results and it only shows you that record. You can use a different method called do command find record, where it will open the form and then find the record by just going down the records till it finds it. That's a different method. It opens slightly slower, but it's certainly valid. And in fact, this is the topic of a video I have coming out later this week. So it might, maybe even tomorrow, I'm not sure. But keep your eyes open. This will be hitting soon. And I know I've covered it in a couple of my developer courses too, but just hang in there. You'll see. Alex asks, which one is the correct way of doing things? Tables, forms, data, then relationships, or relationships before you enter any data? Me personally, I find it easier to enter data first and get sample data in the tables. Not real data, just some junk data, some sample stuff. And then once you can see the data all laid out, then it sometimes is easier to understand how the relationships work in. Unless, you've been like me, I've been doing this stuff for 30 some years and it's kind of second nature for me to know beforehand how I'm going to lay it out. But even then, I still come up with things that I throw in, on the fly last minute. That's why I love Access because, it's a rapid development tool that you can very easily make modifications and change things. As I talk about in a lot of my classes, including my free Access Beginner 1 class, I like to lay out my table structure first, either on paper or in an Excel spreadsheet. Just, show me the layout. In a lot of my different videos, like this one, the association series, I go into Excel and I lay out the table structure first, right? Here's the person table, here's the family table, and so on. So once you get all your tables and your fields laid out, it's easier to see where you want the relationships to be between them. So that's what I usually do. I lay out the tables first, and then I get some sample data in the tables. Then I almost never use system level relationships in the relationships window. I just set up ad hoc relationships between my queries because I don't usually rely on referential integrity or things like that. But once in a while I do. And again, I got millions of videos on this stuff. So, but yeah, it's the bottom line is whatever you're comfortable with, whatever works, right? If you want to set up the tables and the relationships first, then put data in. I usually always build the forms last. Like I try to get all the tables built first. But sometimes I'll build the table and then whatever query I need to go with the table and then the form based on the query. And so it all depends. It's very situational. There is no one right way to build a database. I can just show you all the different options that are available. I give you a big box of Legos and I teach you how all the pieces work. Abdullah thought that he broke Access because his wizards wouldn't start, like the combo box wizard and stuff. In this video, I explain why the wizards don't start. It's very hard to break Access. It's a very resilient program. You've got to try to break Access. So don't be afraid to click on stuff. Don't be afraid to experiment and play with it. Make sure you back up your database regularly, and then just go for it. You know, if you're curious what something is, click on it. Right? If you want to know what fdisk does, type it in and see. And go. No, I'm just kidding. Don't type in fdisk or format. And finally, I just wanted to give a thank you to everyone who wished me a happy Thanksgiving after I posted my little happy Thanksgiving video. Yeah, this is 11 days ago now. Like I always say, I get to the YouTube comments whenever I can. I always read them and approve them because I have approvals on, because you wouldn't believe the spam that I get on my channel. So many people posting spam. And a few rude ones here and there. But mostly 99% of you guys are awesome. So thank you very much. There's just a couple of them. There's a couple more. We got lots of them. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I do read all the comments, and I do my best to respond to them. Usually when I get around to doing a quick queries is when I start going down the comments. And I do them in reverse chronological order just because that's the way that YouTube shows them to me. It's very difficult to scroll all the way down to the oldest ones. So if you got an old comment down there, there's some probably from a couple of years ago that I haven't gotten to responding to yet. I've read them all. If it's approved, it's read. But it's just way. So as when I sit down to reply, I go down and it's like, okay, they get older and older and older and older. Eventually, I'm going to get down to like if new ones stopped coming in right now, I'd probably finish them all in probably 2035. So if I haven't responded to your comment, don't feel bad. I just don't have a lot of time for YouTube comments. But if you do have questions, post them on my website. I do read the forums there as much as possible. I got a great group of moderators. And if there's anything really cool, they always flag it and I take a look at it. Yeah, so check that out. But that's going to do it, folks. That's Quick Queries number 22. That's your tech help video for today. Hope you learned something. Live long and prosper, my friends. I'll see you next time. A special thank you and shout out to our diamond sponsors. First, we have Juan Soto with Access Experts Software Solutions, manufacturing experts specializing in Access and SQL Server. Juan is a 13-time Microsoft Access MVP. You can check them out at accessexperts.com. Another shout out to Sammy Shama from Shama Consultancy. Sammy is a certified Microsoft Office specialist, and he not only offers Access application development, but he also provides one-on-one tutoring services. So if you need someone to hold your hand and help you with your Access project, Sammy is your guy. Check him out at shamaconsultancy.com. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and post any comments you may have below. I do try to read and answer all of them as soon as I can. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, which is completely free. Click the bell icon and select all to receive notifications when new videos are posted. Want to learn more? Click the Show More link below the video to find additional resources and links. YouTube does a pretty good job of hiding it. It's right down there. See this part of the description here, right? The name, the video's up here. There's a little Show More down there, right down the bottom. It's kind of hard to find. But once you click on that, you'll see a list of other videos, additional information related to the current topic, free lessons, and lots more. And YouTube no longer sends out email notifications when new videos are posted like they used to do. But if you'd like to get an email every time I post a new video, click on the link to join my mailing list. And you can pick how frequently to get emails from me, either as they happen, daily, weekly, or monthly. Now, if you'd like to become a paid member of my channel and receive all kinds of awesome perks, click on the Join button. You'll see a list of all the different membership levels that are available, each with its own special perks, including my extended cut videos, access to my code vault, lots of VBA source code in there, template downloads, and lots more. I'll talk more about these perks at the end of the video. Even if you don't want to commit to becoming a paid member and you'd like to help support my work, please feel free to click on the tip jar link. Your patronage is greatly appreciated and will help keep these free videos coming. I got some puppies to feed. But don't worry, no matter what, these free tech help videos are going to keep coming. As long as you keep watching them, I'll keep making more, and they'll always be free. Now, if you really want to learn Access and you haven't tried my free Access Level 1 course, check it out now. It covers all the basics of Microsoft Access, including building forms, queries, reports, and more. It's over 4 hours long. You can find it on my website or on my YouTube channel. I'll put a link down below you can click on. And did I mention it's completely free? The whole thing, free, 4 hours. Go watch it. And okay, a lot of you have told me that you don't have time to sit through a 4-hour course. So I do now have a quicker Microsoft Access for Beginners video that covers all the basics faster in about 30 minutes. And no, I didn't just put the video on fast forward. But I'll put a link to this down below as well. Now, if you like level 1, level 2 is just $1. That's it, $1. And that's another whole 90-minute course. Level 2 is also free for paid members of any level, including supporters. So if you're a member, go watch level 2. It's free. Okay, want to get your question answered in a video just like this one? Visit my tech help page and send me your question there. Members get priority, of course. While I do try to read and respond to all of the comments posted below in the comments section, I only have time to go through them briefly a couple of times a month, and sometimes I get thousands of them. So send me your question here on the tech help page, and you'll have a better chance of getting it answered. And while you're on my website, be sure to stop by my Access forum. We've got lots of lively conversations about Microsoft Access and other topics. I have a fantastic group of moderators who help me answer questions. Shout out to Alex, Kevin, Scott, Adam, John, Dan, Juan, and everybody else who helps out on the site. I appreciate everything you do. I couldn't do it without you. Be sure to follow my blog, find me on Twitter, and of course on YouTube. Yeah, I'm on Facebook too, but I don't like Facebook. Don't get me started. Now, let's talk more about those member perks if you do decide to join as a paid member. There are different levels: Silver, Gold, Platinum, and Diamond. Silver members and up get access to all of my extended cut tech help videos, one free beginner class every month, and some other perks. Gold members get all the previous perks, plus access to download the sample databases that I build in my tech help videos, plus access to my code vault where I keep tons of different functions that I use, the code that I build in most of the videos. You'll also get higher priority if you do submit any tech help questions. Now, answers are never guaranteed, but you do go higher in the list for me to read them. And if I like your question, you got a good chance of it being answered. You'll also get one free expert level class each month after you've finished the beginner series. Platinum members get all the previous perks plus even higher priority for tech help questions. You get access to all of my full beginner level courses for every subject. And I cover lots of different subjects like Word, Excel, VBA, ASP, lots of different stuff, not just Access. These are the full-length courses found on my website. You get all the beginner ones. In addition, once you finish the expert classes, you get one free developer class per month. So lots of training. And finally, you can also become a Diamond sponsor. You'll have your name or your company name listed on a sponsors page that will be shown on each video as long as you're a sponsor. You'll get a shout out in the video and a link to your website or product in the text below the video and on my website. So that's it. Once again, my name is Richard Rost. Thank you for watching this video brought to you by accesslearningzone.com. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something today. Live long and prosper, my friends. I'll see you again soon.